The higher your body count, the higher your status and power. Our MC stands at minus 999 body count. He is technically an uber virgin. Follow along and we'll find out what happens to our virgin king. Our story starts with a young girl named Hina who lives in isolation with her mother. Sadly, one day she sees her mom being dragged down into the dark depths by ominous tentacle-like black hands. While being pulled under, her mom gives her a glass ball with the number 10,000 on it and tells her to search for the legendary ace. Her final glimpse of her mom is the palm of her hand with the number 0 on it. From that moment, Hina made it her life's mission to find one of the aces. She has spent the last 5 years traveling the world on foot, racking up almost 45,000 kilometers. FYI, the Aces are a group of superhuman soldiers who emerged during the Waste Wars and seem to have all but disappeared once peace was restored to their world. Hina finds a town where it's rumored one of the Aces lives. She decides to give her feet a well-deserved break and dips them in a public foot bath found in the village center. While resting her feet, she's harassed by a creepy-looking man named Licht who can't seem to keep his hands off her body or his eyes off her number peeking out under her dress. He starts to beg her for money as he claims to not have eaten in days. He's a creepy-looking fella and a super perv wearing a weird frog costume, so Hina, using her street smarts, attempts a quick escape. But he chases her across town, screaming nonsensical madness, you know, the typical crazy behavior of a crackhead, until a big bazooka mama lends a hand, well an elbow and elbows him straight into a tree. Hina's savior is a well-endowed woman named Nana. She owns a traveling tavern cart kinda like a medieval food truck, and apparently Licht the Loony is her employee. I must say she is an extremely abusive boss, but Licht seems to like it, so no king shaming here. She apologizes to Hina for his harassment and offers her a free meal as compensation. Nana soon realizes that Hina is quite naive, so she explains the number system that runs their society. Kinda like the number gangs of South Africa. If you know, you know. Anyway, according to Nana, each person's worth is determined by a number visible somewhere on their body. This number can increase or decrease throughout your life, depending on conditions specific to each person. For example, Nana's number increases every time someone compliments her food, but decreases whenever she hears that it tastes like poop. Since her number is 77, I don't think Miss Nana is a very good cook. Another rule is that someone with a lower number has to obey the orders of someone possessing a higher number. The higher the number, the higher the status. Talk about classism. Also, if a person's number drops to 0, they are pulled down into the dark abyss, an unknown place from which no one has returned. Hina finally understands what happened to her mother and why she has the number 441 on her upper thigh. She learns that her number must correspond to the distance she has walked. Every 100 kilometers walked equates to her number rising by 1. Licht 2 wants a peek at the number on her upper thigh, and he attempts to force her legs open. Keep your hands to yourself, sicko. Luckily, Nana saves the day by throwing him high into the branches of a tree, which he promptly falls down from, leading other townswomen to fulfill his need to be dominated. Hina shares her mission of finding the legendary aces who are supposed to wear a shining white star to identify themselves. She says that she's come all the way to this town because she heard that an ace lives there. However, Nana is quick to burst her bubble and tells her that no ace lives there, which saddens Hina and she decides to leave. While walking away, one of the military's sergeant majors arrogantly announces himself to be the ace she's searching for. And sure enough, Mr. Military has a shining white star right next to his number. Hina immediately believes the arrogant army man and starts to cry for joy. Silly girl, she assumes her life mission is complete. The military man starts leading her to the guard building, and Nana tries to warn her to be cautious, but due to the higher number of the sergeant, she can't say too much. When they reach the guardhouse, the military man immediately starts feeling her up and tries flattering her with perverted nonsense while his men watch, ready to catch a train. She remembers the glass ball her mother gave her and pulls it out. This immediately puts all the soldiers on high alert. The sergeant gets a fright but eerily asks her in a calm voice if she's a ballot holder. She, like us, has no idea what he's talking about. In a split second, he changes from horndog to threat. He draws his sword and politely asks that she hand it over. She just as politely refuses, as it's the last thing her mom gave her. He reacts by slicing the couch in two. Seems like an overreaction, but okay bro, go off. Hina quickly remembers that her number is higher than his and orders him to stop. The sergeant challenges her to a star stake, a kind of duel the military uses that allows them to bet their numbers against each other. This is the only way around the obedience to a higher number rule. Win the battle, gain the numbers. So he attacks her full force, non-stop until she begs him to stop. She loses the star stake and her numbers get transferred via the freaky, nightmare-inducing tentacle hands to the sergeant, increasing his count to 760 and leaving her with 1. Military Man is a major sadistic psycho who laughs at her trust in him as he flicks the star sticker off his face, revealing that he was never the ace. Apparently Hina is about 300 years late. He demands she give him the ballot or battle again. Realizing she's 1 number away from losing it all gives our girl an anxiety attack. Suddenly, the perverted frog man, Licht, taps in, saying she'll bet it all. Licht also offers to bet his own numbers, which appear to be negative 999, which are the number of ladies that don't want no love from his crazy butt. His audacity excites the sergeant, who adores the idea of sending him straight to the abyss. The sergeant's men try to warn him that something's not adding up with all those negative numbers, meaning Frogman must be a ballot holder too. Licht, whose hair, cloak, and mask have been sliced and diced by the sergeant, thanks him for the fresh new fade. He then tells Hina to stop looking for the aces, as they are no heroes, just murderers. He tells her to go home and be bored basically. Then he draws his sword, inscribed with number 5700 plus a white star. This undeniably proves him to be the legendary ace, whose count shows the extreme amount of enemies he has deleted. The surrounding soldiers lose their tiny little fangrel minds, but their sergeant isn't impressed at all, saying unless Licht's froggy butt is immortal, there's just no way. Licht tells Hina to close her eyes as the soldiers charge them, and in a blink they're gone. He flies at Super Saiyan speed past the arrogant psycho, causing the earth to move and the ground to crumble. Finally, he appears right behind the sergeant, and each overpowered step he takes towards him causes him to fly back until he crashes into a wall. He pimp slaps the sergeant, demanding he return Hina's numbers. Then the guys fight it out while Nana fills us in with some background info, seeing she knew all along that Pervy Frogman was the legendary ace. Their relationship sure has a very interesting dynamic. Anyway, Licht takes Hina high into the sky. She opens her eyes, holds him tight, and promises him a meal if he doesn't get hurt. Deal in place, he flies back down and gives the finishing blow, which transfers the defeated sergeant's number of 759 straight to Hina, leaving him with a pathetic 1. After the transfer, Hina cries like a baby as her lifelong mission has been completed after only 5 years. Licht spots a nosy soldier spying on them and snatches the ballot out of her hands. He makes a big show of stealing her ballot, claiming it will make him a rich man. As soon as she objects, he threatens her with a star duel. She starts to cry and Licht throws a Pukey Pie doll at her and calls it a trade. Before leaving, he informs her that he's not the only ace around and maybe she just found the wrong one. Harsh. Then he takes to the sky, leaving our little crybaby with her Pukey Pie doll. As the sun sets, crybaby Hina makes her way to Nana's food truck and she cries some more. After spilling the tea on what went down, Nana figures out what happened and hands her back the doll from which her inherited ballot pops out. Nana explains that owning a ballot is a highly illegal death penalty type crime. At the same time, it's also one of the most sought after artifacts on the black market. Since so many soldiers saw her with one in her possession, she would have been a wanted woman. Licht actually saved her by pretending to steal her ballot, thus no longer making her a person of interest. With that realization, she immediately starts chasing after Licht, who's on a carriage leaving town. She tells him her sob story, a life hard-lived searching for him. The loneliness, the isolation and desperation, the happiness she's felt since meeting him and Nana has changed her, and she doesn't want to let go of that for the world. Even with her begging, pleading, and screaming, Licht keeps going. He does the opposite of Future and puts his mask on. The number on his hand changes from -999 to -1000. Another love lost. As soon as he's out of sight, one of the soldiers who was present in the guardhouse, trying to catch a train, approaches her and reveals that he's some kind of CIA agent who had been tasked with finding the ace. He tells her he has no interest in her ballot and thanks her for being the perfect bait. He brings out an earpiece that seems way too technologically advanced for their time period and reports back to his superior. The ace has been found alive. Early the next morning, the military sends soldiers to investigate Licht's reappearance. Much to Hina's surprise, none of them have any interest in her, even though she owns a ballot. Somewhere high in the mountains, a young master sergeant named Lin Mei is making flyers asking for help to build a park for local kids. Since she's been stationed there, crime has dropped to 0%. She spends her days helping the local people. Lucky for her, that's what makes her count increase. Unluckily, it only increases when helping someone in serious need or life-threatening danger. So she's been stuck at the same number since arriving in this village. Her sidekick, Sergeant Peloporo, warns her that living in this boring little town will eventually harm her chance at promotion. He then passes along the wanted poster naming Licht as the masked ace of flashing strikes. A few moments later, she spots a strangely masked man and demands to see his face. The masked weirdo refuses to remove his mask, reminding them that his mask is nothing like the one on the poster. She backs off, but then gets suspicious and tries to force the mask off anyway. Afraid he's been discovered, he starts to cry hysterically, flashing her his awfully familiar -1000 count and saying it's due to the multiple rejections he has faced. Bro is the ultimate incel. He begs and pleads for mercy or a date. While watching him cry like a little titty baby, Peli encourages Lynn to take him on a date as dude was so pathetic it would surely increase her count. Burn. But strangely enough, it starts working right away. Her just holding his hand already increases her number from 410 to 411. Pella plays romance guide as they go on several little pity dates. One of their dates includes them having to cross an old, rickety wooden bridge. As someone with a fear of heights and a fear of shitty workmanship, I would never, but Pella insists, and those romantic fools listen. Surprise, surprise, one of the planks break, causing the bridge to rock and Lynn to trip up. The masked chubby perv uses his quick thinking to cop a feel and quick reflexes to save her just in time. Next, Pella continues to tease Lynn by making her go on several more dates, with hilarious harassment-filled moments with the goal of increasing her count. But once he gets bored, he quickly reveals that he knew all along that the masked man is the same one as on the wanted poster. It's quite obvious when you realize he has a minus count and is still alive and kicking, with no gross black tentacles trying to pull him under. Realizing he's been caught out, Licht grabs Lynn's sword to try and avoid an armed battle, but unfortunately for Licht, Lynn is a master hand-to-hand combatant. With kicks powerful enough to split tree trunks in half, she's kicking his butt all over the place, but Licht is totally unaffected and flirts nonstop. Making her blush and us too, bro has undeniable riz. He charms her, and she immediately starts fantasizing about their future together. Apparently, she wants a house husband and at least 3 kids. She doesn't care that he's a hobosexual as long as he's there for them. Unfortunately, while she has her eyes closed daydreaming, Licht slips away. Sorry, Sergeant Lynn. Back to Hina. She's taken over Licht's role as server for Nana's food truck. Seems the 2 ladies are saving up some money to go searching for Licht. Just then, a lieutenant named Jail Murdoch shows up with a crew of knights. What kind of name is Jail anyway? He starts to interrogate Nana about Licht's whereabouts. She plays innocent at first, but he uses some kind of stone-bending magic to hold her in place, making escape impossible. She confirms that last she heard he was headed east, but Jail seems to think she's lying, so he takes his men west. Upon Lieutenant Murdoch's departure, dozens of giant metal spears explode from the ground up and destroy Nana's food truck, injuring her and a customer. Nana explains that Murdoch is a ballot holder and he just used his power to destroy her property. Hina wants to rush west as soon as possible, hoping to find Licht before the lieutenant does, but Nana wisely warns her that without a working wagon they were going nowhere. Also, Nana needs her bard to maintain her count. She hires Hina as a full-time employee and they agree to work hard and save harder. Back at our mountaintop village, Lynn is saddened at the loss of her promotion to second lieutenant by losing Licht. Her main motivation for the promotion is the benefit that she gets to design her own uniform. No more perv magnet miniskirts. Back to work handing out flyers for the kids' park, she spots Licht again, dressed as the pervert puddingman. This culminates into a tag-yurt race that somehow gets the whole village involved, leading them to misunderstand it as a lover's quarrel. The locals get involved and a strange panty debate occurs, allowing Licht to escape. He watches from up high on a cliff as the villagers all give unwanted advice and also come to her for all their dilemmas. A young couple wants her to name their new baby girl, and an angry baker brings a young thief for punishment who keeps stealing their bread. As punishment, she gives him some community service and tells him to come see her if he's ever in need. Soon a flood of villagers come rushing with their simple problems that need solving. Lynn steps back and accidentally steps on a doll, snapping its neck. Unable to fix the doll, the little girl won't stop crying. Pella reminds her that this isn't part of her job description, but Lynn is resolute in repairing the toy. Licht sees all and admires Lynn's dedication to her town. He nonchalantly jumps down from up high and quickly fixes the doll and gets back to letting Lin chase him. It's like a romantic game of catch me if you can. Until Lick suddenly stops. He screams at Lin to stop too as they are immediately attacked by metal spears. He seems to be gravely injured and unconscious, causing Lin to rush to help. The lieutenant's forces surround them quickly, and he orders her to back up if she doesn't want to get smacked up. Lick sighs deeply, then removes his disguise. Murdoch screams attack, almost taking Lin out with friendly fire. Thankfully, Lick steps in to protect Lin. He slashes through their swords and uses his wind power to blow several men away. This confirms that he is a ballot holder. Lieutenant Jail Murdoch steps up to handle him, causing Lick to refuse the handling, encouraging him to play with himself instead. I laughed out loud at that part. Murdoch commands Lin to recite their mission statement. With a salute, she recites their mission. It's their duty to arrest all ballot holders as ballots are an illegal form of counts. Possession alone is enough for an arrest. Military are the only exception to the rule and are allowed to own ballots in order to fight other ballot holders. Ballots give their owners special skills. The strength is linked to the ballot's number. Lick laughs and teasingly points out that his 5,700 count far exceeds Jail's 900 ballot, which forms his iron bars. Jail attacks him with hundreds of iron spears, but Lick suddenly activates his flash-level speed, allowing him to almost disappear and run away. Funny enough, the lieutenant knows all about this technique and knocks him down with a gigantic iron pillar. He surrounds them with iron's bars, making Lick realize that his true count is not 900. Jail explains that he has been forced to hide his true count due to restrictions placed upon soldiers by the military. Too high a count, and he's facing desk duty. To bend the rules, he's been hiding his actual count, which is an overpowered 12,500. Now Lick knows he's in trouble. Jail creates another iron pillar to hit Lick, which he barely blocks. While barely blocking the first pillar, Jail sends another pillar, but Lick jumps away in time. He uses his whizzing speed to stealth attack in return, but he's just too slow. Jail pinpoints Lick's position, and using another iron pillar, he causes Lick's sword to fly in the air. They then engage in the fastest hand-to-hand combat I've ever seen until Jail beats Lick again. Jail manages to catch the sword on its way down, but throws it back to Lick, arrogantly telling him he'll need it as his fighting style is disappointing. Ouch. In retaliation, Lick uses his ultimate high-altitude strike move, launching himself into the sky and using gravity to strengthen his strike. Jail, however, launches a bunch of iron pillars at Lick, weakening his momentum, knocking the breath out of him and finally trapping him in iron shackles. Now trapped, Jail starts his interrogation. Who is Lick, really? Jail knows that because of Lick's fighting style, he must be ex-military. Besides that, why was the whole army hunting him down? Lick's count is only 5,700, nothing significant. Is Lick an ace? What's really good? Lick says he's just a puddingman, so being a reasonable fella, Jail resorts to torture. Flogging style, Lin jumps in to protect him. Taking the hit instead, she pleads Lick's case, sharing all the good he's done, and asks Jail to join them in helping the kiddies. Instead, Jail rips up her flyer. He then starts yelling, telling her just how useless she is. Instead of helping the villagers, she should be catching criminals and enforcing justice. The angry villagers quickly stand up for her, but she shuts them down and starts to apologize to Lieutenant Jail. Lick immediately interrupts and breaks free of his shackles. Understand, this would be impossible with a count as low as 5,700. At first, Lick held back to protect the town, but now it's on like Donkey Kong. Their powers are immense, but Lick is stronger. He fights with passion, demanding Jail apologize. Lin is the only reason the town is as peaceful as it is. Her kindness and hard work made it this way. It's like a Goku versus Vegeta battle. The ground is cracking and boulders are flying. The crag where Lin stood cracks and breaks away. Lieutenant Jail attempts to save her, yet Lick flashes past him to catch her. In his arms, Lin blushes and gets flustered, then Lick ruins the moment by calling her a fatty boom boom. His number quickly drops from -1,000 to -1,001, so he throws her over to the lieutenant, makes one more joke about her big booty and escapes again. Jail carries her to safety, then throws her to the ground. What a gentleman. He sees the flyer that he had ripped and remembers Lick's words. His compassion activates and he uses his iron powers to build a perfect playground. He informs Lin that his iron is temporary without him around, so he'll give her 3 days to fortify the structures. After that, she'll be joining him on the hunt for Lick. Lin jumps into action while Jail sits on his iron throne and ponders. He compares Licht's speed to his own and realizes Licht is the Flash, and he's a Teletubby. And Licht is yet to reveal his true power. Speaking about Licht, he's wandering around the wilderness, starving, dressed as a crow. His disguise is pretty ineffective as Hina manages to track him down. Licht pretends to be a crow, but Hina is not having it and she pulls his mask off. After much back and forth, Licht joins Hina and Nana. After a quick catch-up sesh, Licht gets right back to begging for food, but Nana smacks him silly, reminding him that he doesn't work for her and will have to pay or find a way to earn his meal. Being the ultimate wingman, she sends him off to help Hina get some wood. Ha. While collecting wood, Hina too reminds him that he never kept his promise of joining her for a meal. She pulls out a bento box of the prettiest sandwiches. They cozy up in a grass field, chat a bit, and just as Licht's about to take a bite, something comes rushing toward them. A large bird-like machine rushes past. A cute girl sits on top pedaling for her life. She attempts to fly over a ravine, but fails and starts to free fall. Licht rushes to save her, catching her mid-fall. She jumps on top of him, touching him all over and introduces herself as Pelmo. She is super excited by the thought that Licht can fly, but he denies, saying he only jumps high. Her instinct tells her that Licht and Hina can make her dreams come true. She takes them to her home and shares her airplane prototypes. She's trying to build humanity's first flying machines. Licht warns that flying is a crime in their country, with death penalty as punishment. Pelmo knows but won't give up her goal. She believes this is worth risking her life for. Without dreams and without the freedom to pursue them, we may as well be dead. Licht is moved by her words and edits her designs, giving her the key to flight. Seeing his edit, she understands her previous errors and asks them to buzz off while she applies the changes to her plane. As they wait, they sit and talk and blush and dream. Hina is filled with joy at finding the legendary ace. Licht reminds her he's not the ace she's searching for and tries to change the subject by being a giant perv. Luckily, Pelmo interrupts the creep fist, ready to unveil her masterpiece. As they stare in awe, Licht senses the military approaching. Pelmo is not surprised in the least and accepts her fate. But before they spot the plane, Licht gives a quick apology and chops her machine up. The army arrives, ever arrogant, saying it's been reported that she's researching flight dynamics. Ever the quick thinker, she claims to be working on a windmill. The army leaves and Licht apologizes again. Pelmo understands the reality of her situation. Licht and Hina start to encourage her to try again, but Pelmo informs them that her time is up. Her count is now 0. In her last moments, she bravely jokes and shares that her count depends on the number of dreams she fulfills. As her last attempt failed, she ran out of time. The abyss opens up around her, and the same black nightmare-inducing hands that took Hina's mother start pulling Pelmo down. Hina gets a flashback and tries to save her, but Hand Pimp slaps her. Licht intervenes and strikes the hand with his sword. Upon contact, Licht too gets a wave of traumatic flashbacks, and it looks like they shock the life out of him. He slowly comes to, only Pelmo's head is visible outside the portal. Hina screams, traumatized. Pelmo smiles at them, looking almost serene. She is not afraid. She highly doubts the creatures will hurt her. She thinks they are bringing her to a new world, and it's not the end for her. The portal closes. Hina cries. Licht is weak and falls panting to his knees. Hina becomes afraid. She looks at him and sees a number appear in one of his eyes, but he quickly covers it and tells her not to look. After all that, Licht says a bunch of emo things and they rejoin Nana and travel together exploring a new town. Licht tries to lighten the mood by being a perv. Lin catches him in the act and starts thanking him for saving her. Then she arrests him. Damn, Mrs. Officer. The girls then introduce themselves, leading to a weird jealous moment between them. Licht's not loving the tension, so he turns and makes a run for it. Unluckily for him, Nana steps in and knocks him out cold. The girls try to explain their jealousy, but Nana's a smart businesswoman and turns their emotions into a cooking challenge. The challenge draws a crowd, and poor Licht is bound to a chair and he'll be the judge, the jury, and the grand prize. The challenge is called Cooking to Cheer a Man Up. Yeah, city boys up, feminism down. The chefs are complete opposites to each other. Lin is a vegan queen, using fresh market veggies to make a simple stew. Hina is a hunter extraordinaire. Freshly caught bear and boar is on her menu. Hina is super skilled at butchering the animals, scarily so. At the moment of truth, most are cheering for Lin, none for Hina, as her food is politely described as a swirling bloody hellscape. But surprise, surprise, Hina is a master chef in disguise. Even Pella has to try some, and he too agrees she is the best he's ever eaten. Mission accomplished. Licht is cheered up, but he just can't seem to choose a winner. Lucky for him, Lieutenant Jail interrupts them angrily. He starts berating Lin for not arresting Licht. Licht laughingly corrects him as he is literally bound to a chair. Jail, highly suspicious, says Licht would never surrender this easily. Funny enough, Licht agrees and immediately breaks free. The men get cocky and start fighting, wrecking the little town. Jail gets all preachy and then demands Licht use his true power. They freeze for a moment, and just before things really get out of hand, a bell rings and Nana yells at them to clean up. As the sun sets and the town is fixed, they all sit down and eat and drink with the villagers. Nana gets everybody white girl wasted, and they leave Jail and the other soldiers wasted in the middle of the town. By the time they rise and shine, Licht, Hina, and Nana are long gone. Jail and his crew are hungover but immediately get to searching. An injured soldier crosses their path and tells them of a nearby town called Linden which was burned to the ground. From a distance, only thick black smoke is visible. They head that way to try and help, but all they see is dearth and destruction. Pella leads them to the town's famous lake, but all that's left is a thick and mysterious purple-black smog. Lin thinks it may be an opening to the abyss. An injured soldier zombie walks toward them. They start shouting about demons coming out the abyss to attack the town and all its inhabitants. The soldier frantically explains that their weapons were useless. The demon flew around burning everybody. The lieutenant denies the soldier's words, saying it must be a ballot holder with fire powers, not a demon. Come on now, Jail, how are you going to tell little bro what he saw? The soldier insists it was a demon, not a human, and that it flew. They take him for treatment, leaving Jail behind to question just what happened as flight is banned and no human, ballot holders included, can fly. Except of course for our pervy ace. In a nearby town, Licht is starving as per usual, demanding food from Nana. Their joking around is interrupted by the soldiers Lin and Pell, who are searching for medical assistance for their wounded comrade. Oopsie. Lieutenant Jail, with eyes ablaze, goes straight into confrontation mode. Using his tough voice, as Licht calls it, lol, Jail is sure that Licht knows just what the heck is going on. They give each other the stink eye until Nana yet again steps into the fray. She insists they sit down and enjoy a drink. Jail sits, pulls out an enormous bag of coins and orders all the drink they have. The table is completely covered in liquor bottles and the drink-off begins. Toxic masculinity for the win. With every bottle they down, they question each other. The alcohol makes them act all silly. It gives them Dutch courage and makes them hilarious. This drinking competition is getting out of hand. I laughed out loud too many times. Soon the ladies all join the drink fest. Hina and Lin are lightweights, but Nana can more than hold her own. The alcohol makes Lin insecure as she remembers how Kick jumped to protect Hina. When Jail was throwing beams around, she tries to ask Hina about the status of their relationship, but quickly pulls herself together. She acknowledges the cuteness of Hina, but drunkenly confesses that she won't give up as she's not a loser. While their underlying tension continues, Jail and Licht's overt drama is still being played out in a drunken game of drink champs. They drink until they both pass out. Just as things are getting comfortable, an earthquake occurs and Pella comes running. A giant sinkhole appears, just like at Linden. A strange noise emanates from the abyss. Suddenly, the traumatized soldier appears behind them. He freaks out and starts screaming that death is approaching. Lieutenant Jail takes control and starts giving commands, but Licht recognizes the noise and tells Jail to evacuate the city immediately for any hope of survival. Jail freaks out and accuses Licht of secretly knowing what's really good. Licht just keeps repeating that it's impossible and that they're all gone. They were used during the wars but shouldn't exist anymore. An ominous noise fills the air, and out of the smog rises a modern-day fighter helicopter loaded with weapons. The helicopter immediately goes into fight mode and attacks at random. Bullets and missiles fly in all directions. The heli turns and aims straight for the lieutenant. It fires a missile, but he protects himself and the rest by using metal bending to absorb the force of the bomb. Licht takes control and starts giving orders. Avoid, evacuate, use metal bending to create protective boundaries. Jail is flabbergasted by Licht's assumed authority. Licht yells that he's the only one with battle experience, and then to prove his authority he shows his 3 hidden stars. They make him a colonel. He outranks them all. This revelation leaves everyone shocked. Licht jumps into action while the helicopter rains down bullets on him. Jail is still stunned by the revelation, as this implies that Licht truly is the 300-year-old ace. Again, Licht implores them to leave, but silly Hina stops to help a crybaby and gives him a cuddle. I guess since she's a crybaby too, she had to help. A missile is shot at them. Luckily, Licht slices and dices it like veggies for a stew. Licht leaps to the sky, ready to destroy the helicopter, with everyone cheering him on. Just as he gets within range, those giant black tentacles of doom appear and smoosh him to the ground. I hate those things. He falls hard. Lin informs the rest that those tentacles are called Althing, also known as Hands of Judgment or the Supreme Assembly. Apparently they run everything. Go off masters. Unbelievably, the hands try to capture the heli, but it flies out of reach and continues its attack. Licht tries again, but Althing electrocutes his bum to show who's boss. Such fickle masters. While dealing with the shock, the number 1 again appears in his eye. Ina starts to worry and begs Jail for help. But sadly, Jail cannot help. It's against the law for the military to attack Althing. The punishment for doing so is execution. All the soldiers are basically useless in this battle. Hina mans up and attempts to assist Licht, who's just been pimp-slapped to the ground again after continuous electrocution. Nana steps in to stop her as she just gets in the way. Jail gets an idea and removes his glasses. He says it's a pity he can't find them, as without them he can't see a thing. Lin is pleasantly surprised at Jail's courage. We all know how he is about his convictions. He throws beam after beam at Althing, giving Licht a fighting chance. Unfortunately, the heli is too far away to reach. But Jail, Lin, and the rest of the soldiers all step in to assist, pretending they just cannot see what they are attacking so they aren't breaking any laws. The hands are all busy, so Licht takes the opening to jump on the helicopter and eliminate the pilot once and for all. However, as soon as he spots them, the shock causes him to hesitate and he has to fall back. Jail spots him hesitating, so he jumps up to see what's good. But something from above opens fire on the heli, sending it crashing back to the abyss. Both men look and see a female figure with long hair and glowing lights emanating behind her. She flirtatiously greets Licht, all while holding a gun to his head. Jail demands to know just who the heck she is. She responds by popping one off in his chest. Classy lady. Jail passes out and falls to the ground, bleeding heavily. Licht thinks his eyes are deceiving him. Nah bro, we all just saw that go down. Miss Trigger Happy introduces herself as Mizuka Sonohara, and she's an ace too, the ace of pursuit. Then the loony lady shows just how Trigger Happy she is and starts shooting indiscriminately. Licht flies up to her and she grabs him in a beer hug, telling him how much she's missed him. That he's her commander and she's just obeying his last command, to eliminate people, and off she goes shooting again. Licht demands she stops, but she enjoys it too much and even shoots at him. He manages to avoid her bullets until they change course and follow him until they find their mark. She gleefully reminds him of her ability. She never misses her targets. Licht gets shot and crashes to the ground. Ina tries to help him, but she and the rest are attacked and held at gunpoint by armed men in uniform. Mizuka calls Licht, Rihito, and coyly demands that Licht aka Rihito become the murderous ace she knew and loved, and prove his back by eliminating her. She tries to force his hand by holding a weapon to the back of a small child's head, saying it's either him or her, saying all kinds of crazy stuff about young blood being beautiful. Licht loses it at the sound of the child's cries. In the blink of an eye, he turns her men into blood splatters. And just like that, the old Licht is gone. His voice and behavior changes. He becomes cold and collected, sporting a spooky new mask. He calls himself the Plunderer and says his goal is to take everything this nation has to offer. Go off Licht, Rihito, Pudding, or whoever you are. The two aces challenge each other to a star stake, which can only end in total elimination. Mizuka starts the party by using her special ability to relentlessly shoot him, but Licht dodges her attacks thanks to his speed. Eventually, some of the bullets hit him right in the chest, making him crash down. Lin and Hina fear for his life, as his count of 5,700 is no match for Mizuka's 32,000. But Pella reminds them of Licht's bout against Lieutenant Jail, and even though Licht had a lower count, they were still evenly matched. This must mean that Licht has been hiding his true count right from the start. And with those words, Licht stands to his feet and screams like a banshee. Red flames emanate from him, and his number starts to increase until it reaches a stupefying 57,000. Delighted by his true count's power, Mizuka gets sticky over her upcoming doom. She continues to shoot at him as he flies around her in an invisible blur. The battle is on and Licht beats her butt like she owes him money. Red and purple flames emanate from him, making him a fearsome sight. Nana tells them that it's time to get out of Dodge, warning them that when an ace is activated, it's like the movie version of a person suffering from multiple personality disorder. He's a totally different person and a danger and threat to all. He will hunt them down till he falls down from exhaustion. The purple-powered ace jumps up and attacks Musica from above. With one powerful strike, he slashes her count down from 32,000 to 16,000, which makes her return to her original personality. She wakes up lost and confused, terrified by the blood and destruction around her. Nana remembers that Licht had told her about a girl ace who was fearful but kind-hearted, maybe the kindest of them all. Nana thinks Mizuka may have been drugged to activate her ace powers and use his bait to force Licht back into a bloodthirsty monster. Licht walks towards her, ready to end her. Lin and Peled try to distract him. He asks if they are his enemies, as he must delete his enemies. He chants delete them. Hina runs over and hugs him. She cries, pleading that he goes back to his pervy self, but Licht is in incel mode, so pretty ladies are his enemy. Mizuka shoots at him, hoping to distract him and save the rest. She warns them to run while they can. Licht power blasts her, then picks her up by her collar. She begs for mercy, tries to remind him that he was her commander, but he throws her like a toy. She accepts her fate, knowing this is her karma for being an ace. We suddenly see a strange flashback of them as high school students. As Licht raises his sword, Lieutenant Jail, still bleeding heavily, jumps in between. Licht is conflicted, but he and Jail get into it. We see flashes of light and Jail falls. Mizuka intervenes and begs Jail to stop fighting. She apologizes for popping him and Jail wipes her tears. Then he blocks Licht's sword with just a tiny iron square that represents his convictions. Even though Licht is obsessed with deletion, Jail can feel that Licht does not truly want to harm them. Jail reads Licht for filth, causing him to confess the true reason for his obsession. Licht eliminates all enemies so that his friends won't have to, saving them from the torment of being murderers. Now that Jail understands him better, he respects him and offers a full-powered fight. With that, Jail slips on a new glove, whose count stands at 45,000. This glove forms an impressive iron beast, and an intense fight ensues that ultimately knocks Licht out and returns his pervy personality. Jail wakes him up with a kick to the face that knocks his mask off. Licht softly apologizes. After saving them, Jail coughs blood and goes night-night. Later, in some church in a faraway land, a uniformed man tells a crazy, creepy version of the tortoise and the hare to some kids. In his version, the tortoise is helped by drinking a wizard's blood in order to beat the hare. After that vampire behavior, the tortoise catches up with the hare and smokes him. Violent and crazy stuff, but the kids seem to love it. A soldier interrupts and reports that there was unexpected interference, and that even Mizuka Sanohara turned back. The storyteller doesn't seem bothered by this, he just wants his tortoise back. The storyteller is named General Schmerman, and apparently Licht is his tortoise. As time passes, Licht slowly recovers in a cottage with his crew, because his star stake with Mizuka wasn't completed and will only complete when one of them croaks. For some reason, Althing has taken over the role of Perv and is pretty handsy with all the ladies. Lieutenant Jail is heading to the royal capital as he has been summoned by the Supreme Commander. The crew wonders why Jail has been summoned. Fearing that his commanders may know they fought the Althing, Pell assures them that snitches get stitches, and if any of the townspeople were to snitch, the lieutenant could simply deny it. Even more importantly, Jail's adoptive daddy is the Supreme Commander Alexander Grigorovich. Upon arriving at the capital, Jail is saluted and thanked by the soldier whose life he saved at Linden. From there, he heads to the Supreme Commander's office. The commander looks like a Giga Chad gangster, smoking a fatty while seated. But he hilariously turns into a loving daddy the second he sees his son. Jail maintains his composure and insists on professionalism, especially since he's been summoned. Since Daddy Dearest just wanted some father-son time, Jail switches the topic and angrily questions him. First, who were those men in black uniforms who were attacking civilians with technologically superior weapons? The Supreme Commander clenches his jaw and answers that it's highly confidential, but since he's his special jail boy, he'll tell him what's good. The black uniformed men are under the direct command of the royal family known as the Special Service Unit, aka the SSU. He warns Jail to stay alert as these super soldiers are everywhere, and each one is a ballot-carrying super elite. They are known for espionage, abductions, and assassinations. As the Supreme Commander pages through a naughty magazine, he casually mentions Licht and the Aces. He informs Jail that the Aces are genetically modified soldiers made through surgeries that boost their synchronicity to their ballots. They were human weapons created to fight in the Waste Wars about 300 years ago. One unbeatable platoon was made up solely of Aces. They became known as the legendary Aces. Licht Bach was the leader of that platoon. Mysteriously, they just stopped aging and no one knows why. Now they wander the world like ghosts. As Jail tries to process this, the commander grabs his hand to see his count. He then questions if Jail's hiding Licht from his superiors. Jail starts to sweat but answers firmly that he isn't. But he of course is lying and his count drops by 1. Daddy freaks and tries to warn him, but Jail says he will see for himself, and with a salute he tries to leave. But surprise, the commander admits the real truth behind his summons. He knows that his son attacked the Althing. Dan Daddy, back at the cottage, Althing is as handsy as ever. Lieutenant Jail walks in and heads straight to Licht, ignoring the rest. Licht knew what was good the second he saw him and calmly agrees to turn himself in. Lin and Hina interrupt, but Licht knows this is connected to their assault of Althing. They ask Jail, but he denies dropping his count due to his lie. It's now at 12,497. Licht asks if Jail's been given an ultimatum. This he also denies. Again, his count drops by 1. Liar, liar. Mizuka begs him not to arrest Licht as they'll drug him and force him to be a weapon too. Lin, Pele, and Hina protest, but Jail binds the soldiers just before attempting to arrest Licht. Nana steps up and pimp slaps Jail back to reality. She then tells him a thing or two, basically saying don't be a wussy, man up like Licht, bras before military superior 304s and loyalty above all. Jail frees the crew while Nana speaks from the heart. She praises each of them and thanks them for their kindness and loyalty. As a gesture of appreciation, she reveals that she too is an ace. She then teleports them 300 years back in time to bear witness to the Waste Wars and hopefully change the past as she couldn't. Our crew ends up right in front of a high school building in modern-day Japan. They see Mizuka, a cutie in a school uniform, walking towards a young dark-haired boy, greeting him with the name Rihito. Our time-traveling crew is flabbergasted. They start to explore and are surprised that even though this is supposed to be 300 years ago, the technology is super advanced. The crew are uncertain if Licht and this teenage Rihito are the same person, but Hina's confident they are one and the same. As they assemble in the school's gym, an enormous creepy loser named Takatora bumps into Hina and starts bullying Lin by slapping her. Jail jumps into defense mode but quickly realizes he has no ballot gloves. The bully sucker punches him with a smile. Out of nowhere, young Sanohara intervenes, begging him to stop, which angers him even more. Some stylish bro named Toki Kaze also confronts the bully, but surprisingly he and Jail get into a masculinity matchup. Rihito proves his identity by being a giant perv, and then luckily for us the assembly is called to attention. Captain Allen stands behind the microphone and introduces the teens to Special Military School 13. They are no longer civilians, but are soldiers who must follow all their orders. Their instructor, Second Lieutenant Ferenda, takes over and presents us with some much-needed background. Apparently, humanity FAFO'd and most of the world has been destroyed through war. Japan is all that remains. The captain angrily cuts her off, telling the kids to be good and they'll be fed. He then introduces the headmaster and commander-in-chief, Major Schmerman. Is that the creepy psycho from before? Anyway, the kids salute him as he approaches the podium. Schmerman starts to read his psycho version of the tortoise and the hare. The teens start laughing their butts off, and who can blame them? Dude is bonkers. In retaliation, Captain Allen starts blasting kiddies through their dome, talking about why don't y'all follow orders. Logically, the students start panicking and rush the exit. Captain Allen calmly continues to threaten them. Then he turns the weapon on Hina, proclaiming that anyone who cries is headed for the next life too. Lin and Jail want to intervene, but know they are at his mercy. Then Toki Kaze uses his katana to disarm the captain. He quickly gets a kick to the face and Jail gets pistol whipped. Rihito, ever the stealthy one, puts a stop to all the nonsense by threatening to excommunicate Major Schmerman with a stick to his throat. This amuses Schmerman, who then teaches him how to easily delete an opponent by putting Rihito's hands to his neck, giving him step-by-step instructions and daring him to do it to end the war. He challenges Rihito to eliminate him but tells him if he fails, Hina's next. Rihito refuses and offers his own life instead. His selflessness confirms again that Rihito truly is Licht. Oh pudding. Schmerman, ever the psycho, emanates a purple aura and intends to execute Licht. Just then, Lieutenant Ferenda claps her hands, saying it's time for break. Captain Allen then reveals that those headshots were actually paintballs. Painful but not lethal. His victims get to their feet and realize it was just a lesson on following orders. That escalated disturbingly. The students get to know each other better while Major Schmerman and Captain Allen discuss the events that occurred at assembly. The captain is Team Toki Kaze, as his samurai skills impressed him. Schmerman is most fascinated by Rihido as he immediately took action at the first threat and was wise enough to directly threaten the commander, which automatically would have given him control. He's even more intrigued to know that Rihido voluntarily joined a military school but doesn't want to hurt people. He's piqued the headmaster's interest and made himself a candidate. Back to the crew, Pella has made an interesting discovery. He hacked a computer and discovered footage of a comet falling from the sky, suspiciously named Althing. Unfortunately, not much info is readily available as their access is denied. Lurking in the shadows, Captain Allen offers some help. He says that Althing is a god made from extremely advanced technology that came crashing from the sky during their last war. Through its mysterious power, Althing plays judge and jury and forces its choices on humanity. People believed that it came from heaven and happily used it to create what they thought was world peace by banning wars and nuclear weapons. At first things went well, but then things took a terrible turn. Captain Allen refuses to elaborate more and sends them to their next class. Our time travelers realize there's a lot more nefarious things happening behind the scenes. In the next scene, our time travelers find themselves in a classroom where excitement and anticipation fill the air. Hina is positively beaming with joy as she finds herself seated next to Licht, or should we say Rihido. And Lin, oh dear Lin, is positively ecstatic about flaunting her newer and longer skirt, only to have her happiness cut short by Captain Allen's demand to shorten it, all because her joy annoyed him. But the real bombshell drops when Captain Allen reveals that he won't be their instructor after all. Instead, the esteemed headmaster Sherman himself will take over the reins. Just before exiting, Captain Allen jokingly warns the headmaster not to unalive any of the brats. Little do our time-traveling crew know, Captain Allen's already got his suspicions about them, especially when they start talking about Alcia, Abbeys, and their count. But let's refocus on the classroom, where Mr. Sherman laid down the law. Each student was awarded 2 star-shaped pins. The mission? Achieve 10 stars and punch your ticket straight into the military, guaranteeing your family a feast for life. Whether you aced your exams or duked it out in wild star battles, the path to victory was paved with these shiny badges. Lose your stars though, and you're expelled immediately. Suddenly, it hit Jael and Hina like a bolt from the blue. These star challenges weren't just about grades. They were like the backbone of their whole society in the future. However, Licht alone doesn't receive any stars, all but guaranteeing that he'll flunk out. Of course, Licht really doesn't care about that. All he cares about is convincing Toki Kaze to quit and return home with him. As far as he is concerned, school is playtime for him to indulge in his many perverted desires for the few days he has left. But trouble brews when Doan, the academy's troublemaker bully, decides to stir the pot. He starts breaking into lockers, snatching up student stars left and right, including poor Toki Kaze. And if that wasn't enough, Doan even went as far as threatening Toki Kaze's grandma, who happened to live under Doan's parents' roof. But Toki Kaze, bless his heart, stands his ground. He refuses to leave the academy, thinking of his grandma's well-being. You see, he figures that soldier families get bigger food rations, which his grandma desperately needs due to her poor health from starvation. But eventually, he has to give up his stars, with no choice in the matter. Without Doan's family, his grandma would be homeless. Now, when Doan swipes stars from lockers and convinces Sonohara and Toki Kaze to hand over theirs, Jael steps up. But Toki Kaze shut him down fast, even with the threat of expulsion looming for starless students. Jael backs off, only to surprise everyone by giving one of his 2 stars to Sonohara. That brave move inspired others with 2 stars to do the same. In the end, only Toki Kaze and Licht were left starless. Throughout the day, Jael sticks close to Toki Kaze and Licht, waiting for them to ask for help, but they don't, even though Toki Kaze's grandmother faces starvation if they're expelled. So when the time comes, Jael decides to take matters into his own hands. After giving his last star to Lin, he waits at the gate for Doan. Doan is a typical loser bully, big, strong, and cowardly. He preys on those he knows he can overpower, using threats to get what he wants. But Jael is different. He's not interested in stealing stars or engaging in a battle of wits. He's accepted his fate and knows that Doan can't intimidate him. With nothing to lose, Jail is ready to face Doan head-on. As soon as Doan steps out of the school's safety, Jail plans to teach him a lesson he won't forget. He intends to cripple him, rendering him useless to the military. Everything Doan has done will be for nothing. Jail sees the bigger picture. He's willing to sacrifice his place in the school to stop Doan from achieving his goals. Doan has underestimated him and put himself in a position where he can't win. Unfortunately, just before the showdown, Schmerman swoops in and drops a bombshell. Doan doesn't have as many stars as he's been flaunting. Because little did anyone suspect, when Licht got up close and personal with Doan earlier, he'd already worked his magic. Literally, Licht had secretly cast a spell, swapping Doan's real stars with fake ones that would eventually turn into frogs. In the end, Licht pulls off a masterstroke. He ensures that nobody's teetering on the brink of flunking out anymore, and they're all set for hearty meals. Plus, he pitches his next big idea to the gang: keep everyone's star count under 10, and they'll have food for life. Yeah, it means their families won't get those extra goodies that come with graduating, but at least they won't have to worry about their kids getting shipped off to war. Now that things have cooled down, Licht jumps back into the swing of things with his signature perverted fan service antics. He's still on his quest to catch a glimpse of the girls in the buff during bath time. But this time, there's a twist. The fan service isn't just for laughs, it's got a purpose. In a surprising turn of events, the Academy issues a directive to uncover the identity of a mysterious voyeur spying on bathers. And guess what? The girls decide to take matters into their own hands, embarking on a mission to catch Licht, thinking he is the culprit. In the middle of all the chaos, Jail finds himself in a rather steamy situation. It all starts when the mischievous girls, in their attempt to catch Licht, play a sneaky trick by switching the bathroom manners, leading poor Jail straight into the girl's bath instead of where he intended. But naked, who does he stumble upon? None other than Lynn, in a state of undress, caught off guard. Jail, being a giga Chad, tells her to lose weight and walks off. And just when things can't get any wilder, Captain Allen punishes the whole class with something he calls collective responsibility, and throws them into the forest for some survival training. And wouldn't you know it, during one of Licht's usual misadventures, he purposely sends 3 girls tumbling into a stream, leaving them soaking wet. Licht's playful perverted harassment of the girls finally reaches a tipping point. Tired of his antics, the girls strip down and tell him to take a picture cause it will last longer. They remind him that they're training to become soldiers and can't be bothered by the childish distractions of a little boy. Ouch. This revelation deeply affects Licht, not just because his fun has been spoiled, but also because he hates the idea of them having to attack and hurt people. He had hopes they could avoid such a fate after his previous idea. However, one of the girls shares her own story, explaining that she has 4 brothers to care for. Despite her reluctance to harm others, she knows becoming a soldier is necessary to support her family. Licht is left speechless, unsure of how to respond. Then out of the bushes, like a true voyeur, Schmerman steps in with a solution. With the cunning of a serpent and a voice dripping with sincerity, Schmerman unveils his plan. They will become a non-lethal army, so powerful that they can defeat their enemies without resorting to violence. This idea takes root in the minds of the class, inspiring them to strive to be the first army with 0 victims. But as they chase this impossible dream, the harsh reality of their world is closing in, ready to shatter their childish hopes. In the next part, Jail embarks on a daring mission deep into Schmerman's hidden laboratory. There he uncovers the secrets of ballots, the superpowers of their time. To his horror and ours, he discovers that Schmerman possesses these abilities naturally, without needing a ballot. This revelation rocks Jail to his very core, leaving him shaken and unsettled. And now let's dive into what might be the most captivating scene of the entire series. It's the first encounter between Jail and Nana. Baby Nana appears out of nowhere and saves him from being captured. Baby Nana knows all about her future self and gives Jail all the deets. She's not just any legendary ace, she's the original one. Injected with Schmerman's DNA, she gained the extraordinary ability to travel through time. However, the experiment claimed the lives of all the other children involved. Poor Nana. With just 7 minutes before Jail's chance to escape closes, Nana shares the complexities of time travel and the burdens that come with knowing the future, how altering it can be dangerous, even if the other outcome is the hell they know. While talking, it becomes clear that what Nana truly desires is to experience the joys of childhood. Jail is her first visitor in a long time, Her fellow mutated buddies are gone, and Schmerman and the authorities lock her up in an underground bunker. Her alarm goes off and their time is up. Jael and Nana are stuck in an intense moment of understanding. Jael promises baby Nana that he will stay and play with her in about 300 years. Hasta la vista, baby. He'll be back. Then he tries to make a run for safety, but a cold metal barrel presses against the back of his head. It's none other than his own captain, Alan. Though Jael puts up a fight, Alan easily overpowers him. But instead of delivering the final blow, Alan makes it a teachable moment, and that's when Jael realizes that Alan is actually Alex, the commander-in-chief of the army in his time, and also his adoptive daddy, the Zaddy. Taking a leap of faith, Jael reveals his true identity and where he's from. This shocking revelation catches Alan completely off guard, and us too. It's a big surprise slap to the face. It tells him that, somehow, their crazy plan to win might actually work out in the end. But what really stops him from popping one in Jael's dome is the realization that Jael is going to grow up to be his son. And since he loves this kid so much in the future, it makes sense that his younger version won't harm him either. So Alan switches gears and makes a quick plan. He's gonna convince the time travelers not to mess with the past at all. He takes them and us on a journey beyond the school walls. We see firsthand how bad things are out there. People are starving, and they're willing to attack a military vehicle armed with nothing but homemade weapons. When Lynn tries to help a starving kid by giving him some cookies, Captain Alan shuts it down fast. He warns her that her actions had endangered the kid. He's about to get bum-rushed by the mob, and they'll leave nothing behind. Watching this hits Jael hard. He realizes a tough truth. He can't fix this messed up world. It's beyond saving, even if he had superpowers. He can't magically feed everyone or stop the war that's coming. Plus, he has no clue when they'll go back to the future, so he can't even join the fight there. The only hope for this past world lies with Licht and the other superpowered aces. They've already saved the day is Jael's perspective. But just because he can't save the past doesn't mean he can't do something about the future. Instead of trying to change what's already set in stone, he decides to use his time in the past to get stronger. He'll train hard by battling against Zaddy Allen. Even though he believes in his adoptive dad's goodness, he's seen the dark side of the government Alan works for. Jael knows that to protect regular folks, he needs to be stronger than the big shots, whether they're his dad or not. The next scene zooms in on the class as they continue their journey to become a victim-free army. They hit the beach for some serious training sessions, including intense games of capture the flag against other classes. Here, young Licht steps up as a leader and guides his classmates to victory. In their first match, he showcases that their superior physical skills can be used to outmaneuver opponents, avoiding conflict altogether until the other side tires out. Then in the second match, he demonstrates the power of strategy, showing how clever thinking can outsmart even the toughest opponents. By the end of these challenges, Licht's classmates recognize that despite his pervy antics, he's their best shot at not only winning battles but also preserving their humanity in the face of impending war. However, this newfound responsibility weighs heavily on Licht. So when presented with the chance to gain more power by becoming the second ace, he doesn't hesitate to volunteer. And so the plan to make Licht the next ace, called Project Ace Lightning, kicks off. When they first arrived in the past, the group's instinct was to stop the procedure. But as they delve deeper into the past world, it's become clear that Licht becoming an ace is crucial for their future to unfold as they know it. As the surgery date looms closer, Jael refuses to sacrifice their entire world just to spare Licht from becoming an ace. He's ready to fight anyone who tries to stop the surgery, and Pell is right there with him, backing him up. On the flip side, Lynn finds herself torn between her feelings for Licht and the knowledge of what his future holds. While she wants to spare him from trauma and pain, she can't ignore the impact he's had on her own life. Ultimately, she prioritizes her memories of their time together over altering his destiny and the world. Typical female. Pell, in his own blunt manner, tries to console her. He points out that it's natural for her to want to help others, even if that assistance could lead to bad outcomes. Despite their differing opinions, Pell admires Lynn's compassion and tells her not to change. He assures her that there are people who love her for who she is, even hinting at his own feelings for her. Though their moment is cut short by Heine's eavesdropping and interruption. Good cause bro was simping hard, shoving all kinds of things in her mouth. Weird. As Lynn grapples with her guilt, Hina jumps into action, brainstorming a plan to help Licht without sacrificing their future. She figures out that Licht's real downfall wasn't just becoming an ace, it was when he started offing people. And with her knowledge of future events, Hina knows Licht's selflessness is his downfall. So she suggests a clever strategy: stop Licht from turning people to dust and make him rely on his friends instead. This way, they can win the war and keep Licht's soul intact. Everyone, including Jael, agrees it's worth a shot. Jael, despite his past disagreements, is now on board, especially if it means saving Licht and Nana. However, Jael's journey doesn't stop there. As Jael roams the school grounds, he stumbles upon Doan in the act of swiping Sanohara's last star. But instead of calling for help, Sanohara requests one of Jael's stars. This reveals Sanohara's true motives. She's not at the school to support Licht per se. Rather, she seeks his protection from bullies, relying on his presence to shield her from harm. She won't ask Jael to get her star back because she's afraid that might piss off Doan and get her more bullying. It's much safer to simply ask the man who gave her a star before. She's a coward. As Doan puts it, she is not fit for the military. If she can't stand up for herself in a school situation, she'll quickly be cannon fodder on the battlefield. Jael can't help but agree. I get the feeling that Doan's excuse for bullying Sanohara, claiming he's doing it to protect her from danger, might actually be his true feelings. But that doesn't make him any less of a psycho bully though. While Sanohara may want for things to change, to end her bullying and become strong, wishing is not enough. You have to act. You have to have the conviction to take control of your life. Jael tells her this, but she doesn't understand. With her trauma, she can't let herself understand. While the upcoming war was scheduled to begin in March, those sneaky countries holding the other ballots decided to kick things off earlier than expected. They caught everyone off guard with a surprise attack on the country housing 3 of the precious ballots. Chaos ensues at the school when the surprise attackers storm in, leaving our heroes in a tight spot. Jael, Tokikaze, and Alan spring into action to rescue their classmates. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Quite the opposite. With the power cut off and Licht lying vulnerable on the surgery table, things are getting spicy. The class bands together, showing some serious teamwork as they fight off the invaders, all while making sure not to cross the line into outright unalivement. It's like a scene from an action-packed movie. Now our heroes are in the thick of it. Jael, Tokikaze, and Captain Allen spring into action to rescue their classmates from Class A. But chaos reigns as the rest of the school faces the brunt of the assault. It's a race against time as the class bands together to save Licht. They're not out for blood, but they're ready to put up a fight as they navigate through the chaos to restore power and secure their friends' safety. They pull off the rescue mission, and Licht wakes up sporting a fresh head of white hair. After a deep and pretty emo chat with Schmerman about his newfound abilities and that crazy hair and tortoise tail, he's off like a flash, taking down enemy troops with ease. But as tough as Licht is now, he's in for a shock. These soldiers aren't just fighting for kicks, they're fighting to survive. The world they're in is a post-apocalyptic mess, and there's barely enough of anything. War might seem crazy, but for them, it's a lifeline. Each elimination they score means another meal for their families. It's a grim reality that hits Licht hard. These soldiers aren't just enemies, they're desperate people fighting for survival. And if that's not enough to shake him, wait until you hear what comes next. Defeated by despair, the enemy commander spins a wild tale about an atomic bomb hidden in the school, triggered by a switch inside one of his soldiers. It's a desperate move, but Licht's emotions get the best of him. His resolve to build a non-victim army crumbles under the weight of his love for his friends and his fear of losing them. In a moment of weakness and pushed past his limit, Licht breaks his vow and takes the lives of the soldiers, only to learn it was all a bluff. The revelation shatters him. He's betrayed his principles for nothing. But instead of wallowing, he makes a new vow, to bear the burden of elimination so his friends won't have to. A true bro. As for Hina, she can't just stand by as she sees Licht at his lowest point. She now knows why he became the man he is in 300 years, the man she has come to love. Hina is a person who knows loneliness and isolation due to her years of wandering. And so mirroring what Jael told young Nana, Hina promises that while times will be bad, in the end, Licht won't be alone. She won't leave him. She will help carry the burden and make sure what has happened here won't happen again. More than that, she promises to make him her baby daddy. She even strips and forces him to cop a feel, hoping that his perverted mind will hold on to the thought of her tatas and leave a 300-year lasting impression. Hina a freaky one for sure. After that awkward moment where Hina forces Licht to touch her chesticles, they all vanish into the light, heading back to their own time. It dawns on everyone that Hina, Jael, Pele, and Lin are freaky time travelers from the future. The story then fast-forwards through those 300 years, with Nana narrating through some depressing video diaries. In between Nana's storytelling, we witness the brutal events of the war, watching Licht's descent into madness unfold. Physical and mental scars cover him. He's burdened by two things: the guilt of becoming a homicidal maniac and the uncontrollable urge for violence ingrained in him by Schmerman's genetic material. But amidst this chaos, Licht clings to one ideal. He pops off so his classmates in Class A won't have to. In the meantime, other aces are made, as some of his classmates feel guilty at the major changes in Licht and want to help him carry his gruesome burden. His sole obsession becomes protecting them, not just physically but mentally too. The mania inside of him even makes him slice off Mizuka's arm in a fit of rage. Brown's losing it. The war ends and the truth comes to light about how Alcia was created and how it's run and where the count comes from. Basically, the rich and powerful taking from the weak and making everyone they see as below them suffer and live in poverty. You know, the same way our world works. Tokikaze rebels against this and opposes the new regime. However, Licht is sent after him and cuts him down. He slices bro like sushi. The raspberry foam fest awakens Licht from his mania, and he realizes all his sacrifices were meaningless. He just eliminated his childhood bestie. This devastates him, leaving him in a catatonic state for 20 years. Grief mode activate. Eventually, Licht and Nana escape, and he starts to heal from his PTSS, though still haunted by his past actions. Despite his efforts to fight back against the army that betrayed him, Licht can't shake his literal mask of stoicism. Nana soon realizes that he sees her as a reminder of the war and his losses, making it impossible for her to save him. Back in the future, Hina wastes no time and drops a bombshell on Licht, suggesting they pick up where they left off 300 years ago and make a baby. This sends Licht into a state of shock, causing him to vomit excessively and dismiss Hina's proposal as obsessive and childish, which totally ticks her off. He rejects her, calls her a lolly, and walks away. Later, when Nana calls for a celebration with drinks, Hina doesn't hold back and chugs a whole bottle of the strong stuff. The liquor brings out all the pervs and many bazookas plus major jealousy. As the day progresses, all the girls get tipsy, and Nana reveals her regret about not being able to help Licht or even make him smile even after being by his side for centuries, bringing tears to her eyes. This is getting depressing, bro. Anyway, this infuriates Jael, who promptly punches Licht and demands they all watch the video diary Nana gave them before they time traveled. Watching the tape hits Licht right in the feels. Us too. Unrequited love sucks balls. He opens up about why he kept his face hidden all those 300 years, admitting he was shell-shocked out of his mind. He couldn't even manage a fake smile, and he owes his very survival to Nana. Although he may not feel romantic love for her, he cares for her deeply. The thought of hurting her is unbearable, and it pains him to know he did so unintentionally. Eyes are burning over here. After an emotionally draining night, Nana comes to accept that Licht will never love her back, but she finds solace in the realization that another man has held her heart all along. Jael Murdoch, the true hero who kept his promise for 300 years. The next day, unknown to everyone, the drinks they've been sipping have a special ingredient that puts them all to bed. Rhymes with bugs. This clever plan was cooked up by Licht himself, who had a sole mission in mind to take on the military. As Hina attempts to follow Licht into the woods, she suddenly tumbles while in the middle of pouring her heart out to him. Licht leads her to where Nana and the others have also fallen asleep, except for Jael. While Jael has been on a journey of self-discovery, evolving into a true hero with each challenge, Licht has remained stagnant. He still believes that if excommunication is necessary, he'll do it alone to protect his loved ones. He's convinced that once he wipes out all the enemies, his friends can finally live in peace. Paranoia. But this flawed strategy ignores one crucial thing. It didn't work before, don't he? 300 years ago, Licht's solo unalighting spree in the war didn't save his friends. It only led to more suffering. Despite this, Licht refuses to see the bigger picture, that the no-victim army was meant for everyone to share the burden, not for him to bear it all alone. So Licht embarks on a vengeful quest, aiming to dismantle the world his late friends were sacrificed to create. He begins by distancing himself from his companions, thinking it will keep them safe. In an attempt to push Hina away, Licht reveals that he unalived her father. What an escalation, what the F bro. He then spikes everyone's drinks to escape. However, Jill remains unaffected by the tranquilizers, leading to a confrontation between the two. During their conversation, it becomes evident that Licht is no hero, he's a baddie with issues. While Jill acknowledges the need to hold the perpetrators accountable, he refuses to resort to senseless violence that would harm innocent lives. He cares deeply for his companions and the people of the world, rejecting Licht's misguided notion of justice through revenge. Despite Jill's efforts to reason with him, Licht clings to his flawed beliefs, unwilling to acknowledge his past mistakes and the harm they unwittingly caused. Licht leaves and their exchange ends with Licht defeated by a surprising foe, a century-old bully, an ace who has been waiting in the shadows, master loser himself Doan, reminding Licht and ourselves that he's not the only antagonist in this tale. The biggest bombshell for me is that Hina's father was actually Toki Kaze and her mother was their childhood friend. But here's the head-scratcher. How did Hina end up being born 300 years later when Toki Kaze passed away centuries ago? Talk about immaculate conception or futuristic in vitro fertilization with zombie seed. Also, how did they manage to have her when they were so busy fighting for what they believed in? And if Hina is the daughter of an ace, knowing that Toki Kaze was one, does that mean she also has a bit of Schmerman's blood flowing through her veins? Some wizard DNA? There are so many questions swirling around, but unfortunately, we won't be getting any answers anytime soon. Also, so many mixed emotions from emo to flabbergasted. But okay, let's buckle up and enjoy the ride. As Licht set out to take down the entire army alone, he gets a surprise visit from super bully villain Doan, who ends up defeating him. Meanwhile, Hina and her gang headed to the eerie capital of Hoffman, hoping to find Licht alive and well. But their excitement turns to sorrow when they find out Licht's light was literally snuffed out. Just as they are processing this loss, lots of sneaky spies from the special service show up, ready to capture them all. Meanwhile, after leaving the rest of the group, Jael makes his way to the capital to meet with his father. When Jael finally faces his father in the capital, he's not the same unsure soldier who had left initially. Back then, he was just realizing how corrupt the government is. But now, after traveling through time, he sees things clearly. He knows the country thrives on others' suffering. Licht's solution is to go all out, to tear down the rulers and crash the floating continent. Consequences be damned. Good plan, Licht. The revolutionist in me is loving it. But Jael's not on board with that. Sure, he agrees the current system stinks, but he doesn't want innocent folks to suffer more. He's determined to find a way to fix things without causing more chaos and pain. Jael challenges his dad to a star strike. Jeebus. What's intriguing is that Jael could easily defeat Alex in their fight. Throughout his time in the past, Jael made his father believe he had a weakness, that he could predict Jael's moves. This tricks Alex into feeling safe, giving Jael one sure opportunity to strike. Although Jael could use his powers to make this hit lethal, he refrains. He chooses to believe in his father's goodness, and his belief pays off. Even when Alex uses his explosive powers on Jael, it doesn't kill him or even knock him out completely. It just forces Jael to listen to Alex's reasoning. Alex tells Jael about the horrors of the world before Alcia, how someone killed Alex's children to feed their own starving child. Everything Alex did was to create a world where such tragedies wouldn't happen anymore, even if it meant the suffering of another world. He knows his actions were wrong, but he believes they were necessary for a better world. He has to believe this to keep going, traumatized. While this story is meant to make Jael give up, it has the opposite effect. It convinces Jael that he may have lost this fight with his father, but he'll win the overall battle. Alex can't bring himself to off Jael. Doing so would destroy the foundation of his entire existence, trauma bond. Jael's strength doesn't come from something as fragile as a shallow foundation. Once rooted in fighting evil, it's now grounded in doing good, being the hero the world needs. Nothing can shake this belief, especially not after his experiences with Nana and his journey through time. You can break his body, but not his spirit. So as long as Jael lives, you can never truly defeat him. Go Jael. Alex recognizes his defeat. Though he can't undo the choices he made 300 years ago, he can release Jael from the ties that bound him. He releases Jael from the army, just as Jael desired, making him answerable only to his own sense of morality. Yet at the same time, Alex presents Jael with a new uniform, a reminder of his past and a symbol of hope for the future of both Alcia and the Abyss. Tears. In the old deserted capital, Hina and her crew woke up to a surprise. They were all tied up and hanging off the floor. Doan, puzzled by their presence in his memories from 300 years ago, figured out it was Nana's time traveling that messed with his head. He confessed to Lin that he did indeed snuff out Licht, saying Licht broke a promise. But what really mattered to him now is finding Sanohara Mizuka. Doan starts using his gravity powers to squeeze answers out of them, but Lin insists they don't know where Mizuka is. Then, a spy warns Doan that someone has arrived, making him angry for tipping them off. That person turns out to be Sherman, shocking Hina and her friends. Sherman realized Nana's time traveling had messed with his mind too. Hina questioned why Sherman betrayed Licht and Class A. His henchmen threatened Lin, insisting they call him General. Sherman explained they were just experiments for the Aerial Ace project, and Class A failed because they foolishly thought they could win without elimination. He offered them a chance to become aces too, shocking Doan. Then the general leaves for his main base. Doan gets furious when a soldier tries to give Hina drugs without checking them first. He believes only those who fought in the Waste Wars should become aces. After wrecking the mansion and dealing with some special service spies, he lets Lin and the others go, not in the mood to hurt them. Until he sees a ballot fall from Hina's bag, he suspects they are plotting something against Alcia. Lin, stuck in Doan's tricky gravity trap, struggles to break free, but Hina and Pella swooped in like heroes to distract Doan, giving Lin a chance to dash away. Doan wasn't giving up though. He hurled floating rocks at Lin as she rode off on a horse, leaving her leaking raspberry foam and wounded. We discover that Doan also has Nana imprisoned. Back to Doan, Hina drops a bombshell. Licht isn't really snuffed out. She points out that his body looked too clean to be truly passed on. Doan swore he finished Licht off, but Hina asked if he'd double-checked before making assumptions. Frustrated and determined to prove Hina wrong, Doan decides to keep everyone alive until morning. Meanwhile, Lin makes it to Licht's corpse. Spotting his suspiciously neat body, she remembered Nana's video about his heart stopping and then starting up again years later. Lin tries to resuscitate him, even though she is seriously hurt herself. As Lin's strength fades, folks from her village appear. They patch her up. Sister Greengrocer urges Lin to bare her heart to Licht, but when he stays knocked out, she resorts to slapping him silly, begging him to stop snoozing like a scaredy cat. With a heavy heart, Lin accepts that Hina is Licht's main squeeze and tells him not to break her heart once he wakes up. Just as Lin collapses, Licht finally stirs, catching her as she sobs with relief. The next morning, Doan hasn't spotted Licht yet, so he decides to stop being nice and just end Hina and the gang. But Hina argues that the reason he hasn't offed them right after Line bolted is because he also wants Licht to survive. Doan denies it and aims to take out Hina first. Just then, Licht strolls in, making Doan fume. But Licht reminds him of their deal and asks for a moment to wrap things up, so Doan grudgingly agrees to wait. Licht tells Pelle they need to patch up Line in the medical room. Though the folks from the village were clueless, Pelle knew his way around surgery. He just didn't want to admit it, calling Lin a dummy. As Pelle takes Lin away, Licht seeks out Hina to spill some beans. He confessed he'd been smitten with her all along but held back due to guilt over offing her dad, his adoptive bro. He tried pushing her away, but she only got closer. Hina called him a dummy and kissed him, revealing her mom wanted her to find the legendary Red Ace hymn. She asks him to promise to stop hiding behind his mask and never leave her alone again. Licht agrees, but when Hina suggests making babies, he thinks it's too soon. So do we. Calm down, Hina. She insists he sort out his mess first and not go solo in fights. After their chat, Licht gears up to scrap with Doan, aiming to settle things. But before they can throw down, Sanohara in her alter ego jumps in, attacking Licht alongside Doan. With two aces on his tail, Licht faces a tough fight. Meanwhile, Sherman ponders from his church seat if Licht can handle the double trouble. In the medical room, Pelle struggles to patch up Lin's wounds while Hina watches him closely. As the fight rages on, Mizuka and Doan team up against Licht. Trapped by Tegatora's gravity, Licht struggles to dodge Mizuka's bullets. Doan spills the beans, revealing Mizuka's long-standing crush on Licht and how she idolized him since school days. Doan blamed Licht for Mizuka's woes over the years, claiming Licht's kindness led her astray. Just as Mizuka and Doan were about to deliver their final blow, Jail storms in, saving Licht at the last moment. Licht is puzzled by Jail's intervention, but Jail simply says he is honoring a request to protect Hina and the gang. United, Jail and Licht take on Mizuka and Doan. Despite Jail's reduced count, he holds his own against Mizuka, blocking her bullets effortlessly. Mizuka breaks down, revealing her conviction not to kill Jail. After their skirmish, Licht and Doan clash in a battle of ideals. Licht rejects Doan's eliminate or be eliminated mindset, vowing to create a true non-victim army and bring peace. Doan, frustrated, unleashed his ultimate attack, a black hole that sucks Licht in, leaving everyone stunned by his sudden disappearance. Doan destroys the black orb, bidding Licht farewell. Licht finds himself in an unfamiliar place after Doan's attack, only to hear Doan's voice labeling it the world of darkness, where Licht will meet his end. But the voice isn't Doan's, it's Licht's own mask speaking to him. Other ace masks join in, blaming Licht for the waste war and urging him to give up and join the angels in the sky. No matter how hard Licht tries, he can't destroy the masks, and their criticisms make him realize his past actions were selfish and brought sadness to others. Feeling defeated, Licht resigns himself to lose his life in this dark world. Meanwhile, outside, Hina and the others demand to know where Licht has gone. Doan grimly informs them that Licht had been absorbed into the gravity pit and will never return. Refusing to accept this, they insisted Licht won't give up so easily. Frustrated by their hope, Doan threatens to off them all. As Licht contemplates giving up in the world of darkness, he hears the voices of Hina and the others, reminding him he isn't alone. Fueled by their support and recalling his promise to stick together through thick and thin, Licht destroys the ace masks and escapes. Back in the real world, Doan tries to finish Licht off, but Licht stands his ground, urging Doan to join him instead. After a fierce battle and an emo heart-to-heart, Doan returns the ballot to Hina and leaves, vowing never to surrender to Licht. Later, Lin wakes up from surgery feeling confused about her half-naked state and her rejected confession to Licht. Hel confronts Licht, asking why he chose him for the surgery instead of Hina, suspecting he might be a spy. As Licht leaves, Sister Greengrocer encourages Pell to comfort Lin, leading to a loving moment between them. Elsewhere, Hina surprises Licht in the forest, intending to make a baby with him. Wow, lolly girl, you just don't stop. Their intimate moment is interrupted by Jail and the others, who support Licht's plan to collect the ballots for a better future without the All-Thing. Meanwhile, Sherman's evil bum plots with a new mysterious group of people who resemble the long-dead class of students waiting for Licht's next move. It all concludes with Licht and Hina finally sharing a meal as they journey toward Alsha, united in their quest for a better future together. 300-something-year-old Licht and his lolly. Watching this has taught me the importance of confronting your past, your guilt, your issues, and your baggage. Leaving your traumas, shame, and your bitterness unchecked will turn you into an immortal demon, perv incel or femcel, who has no self-control and only brings sadness and destruction and raspberry foam incidents. A legendary idiot, as Jail calls it. But if you have the strength of your convictions to better yourself, confront your past, get treatment, see a therapist, get some kind of trauma therapy maybe, and then maybe just maybe your future may be brighter than you could ever imagine. This is your anime sensei signing off, saying masks off, get help, let go, want better, and it will all get better.